All right. Welcome, 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 everybody. And thank you so much for joining us today. We are so excited to have with us the amazing Todd Fiscus. Hi, Todd.
Hi, how are you?
I am so good. How are you today?
Making it,
Nice. I love it. Living that dream. So
managing the
before
nightmare.
that's how we can get started, right?
uh,
Before we dive in and ask all of these like super amazing questions and get to know Todd really well, I want to just go through a couple housekeeping things before we get started. So first, as everybody knows, community is really big and important to us here at RPC. So make sure you say hello in the chat. Let everybody know who you are, where you are coming in from, what you do. Drop your Instagram handle. That way we can all follow each other, make some new connections. Second, in the Zoom, just don't forget to change your chat settings to everyone so that everybody can see all of the amazing questions coming in. Sari is on the back end of this. She's going to be fielding all of those questions, making sure that we get to everybody. And speaking of Sari and Rock Paper Coin, go ahead and make sure you follow Rock Paper Coin at Rock Paper Coin, and also follow our amazing guest Todd at Todd Events. Sari's going to drop both of those in the chat so you can make sure and follow along as well. We look forward to saying hi to all of you. Okay, and then last, for those of you that might not know who Rock Paper Coin is, we are a small female-founded tech company that is creating a platform to provide contracts and invoices and proposals to small business owners like yourselves today. It's a very clean, simple, easy-to-use platform without complex workflows, just making it so you can jump in and do the tasks that you need to and jump out and get back to doing what you love. Okay. With that, I think that we should go ahead and just jump right in with all of the questions for Todd. Now, Todd, just a heads up, we did ask people when they were registering to submit some questions,
okay.
and I've got a handful of those that we're going to get to at the end. But because I'm running the webinar, we're going to get to my questions first.
Sure.
So we'll go ahead. I want to introduce you, and I want to tell everybody about just how amazing you are. So Todd is this amazing fearless leader and creative director behind so many amazing brands and companies: Todd Events, Party Dallas, Avant Garden, and now co-founder of Pillars of Productions. I'm not going to make you pick your favorite one, but I am curious.
You're like keep what is it? Kill, murder, whatever that game is.
Yes, exactly. So Todd has been in the event for almost 30 years, or more than 30 years, I think now.
30 years this
And
year.
oh my gosh, no
30
way.
years, yeah, in November.
Wow, that's
God,
crazy.
that makes me sound so freaking old. It makes my stomach hurt, but yes,
Are you
30
gonna
years.
like throw a big party?
Ugh. Actually, no,
Okay,
but I am gonna do something. I just don't know what it is yet.
maybe a
But
big vacation.
or yeah, or maybe yeah, maybe a retirement party. I mean, who knows what's coming up? You never know. Ask me on Thursday. It'll be different.
Okay.
Uh,
I love that. I will follow along, see what you do. So Todd has done everything from like full-scale event productions to floral design to culinary, interior design consulting, restaurant design and ownership. I'm so curious about that piece.
sounds like
Event space.
I have attention design disorder, but yeah.
Well, or is it just that everything you touch becomes successful? So
Well,
I love it.
there weird things happen. Yes, I we'll get to that. We'll get to
We
that.
will. We will. So as you can all see, Todd is a expert of many, many things.
Of
And
nothing.
and in order to do all of this and have your hands in so many different businesses, you have to have some equation for success. And I want to tell everybody about a quote that Todd sent us when we were working through some of these logistics, because I loved it so much. And I have to read it just to make sure I don't butcher it. So Okay, Todd said, I am not fearful of change, but I am a failure. Even though I have failed often, I always crawl out of every hole. Success is up and down. It's tough, but I can't imagine working for anyone else. So you gotta talk us through this. How long did it take you to become your own boss? Like, did you always work for yourself from day one? Like, walk me through a little bit of the
Sure.
path.
So I came out, I went to school at Texas Tech, back when you guys were barely nary a thought, I'm sure, in 85 to 89, right? So I came out of school with a restaurant hotel management program and had gone to culinary school. And so I was supposed to go ahead and finish a 3-year culinary program with CIA, but I didn't get to finish because my dad had a heart attack.
Mm,
And so it was like, no more money, get your butt into the workforce. So I left and moved to Dallas and started working as a garde manger chef for, at the time, DoubleTree Hotels in Hilton.
yeah.
And so thought it was great, but wasn't great at it and it was boring. So I quickly moved up and started selling food and beverage. And kind of moved into the food sales, and the girls in charge of weddings quit their jobs. They gave me the stack of inquiry, and they had a $400,000 annual booking calendar, and I did $1 million in 6 months. And they were like, "You're the new director of weddings," and I was 24 years old. Um, my career in the hotel business ended when I got punched in the throat by a gypsy father of the bride,
Oh
and
my gosh.
because I wouldn't pour wine at the tables because he hadn't paid for it and they only paid cash. So I got punched in the throat. And then as I was falling to the ground in my seersucker suit, my clipboard took him from ear to lip, like right here, cut his face open, called the police, like it was a scene.
Oh my
And
God.
that was my exit from the hotel business. So I didn't do it on purpose, but I got suspended with pay to think how I could become a better sales manager.
Yes, yes.
Uh-huh. And I went and started working for a florist I just referred a lot of work to. And within 8 weeks, he was like, "Will you be my business partner? You're a genius at this." And I was like, I don't think that's right for me. He took cash out of the register and then put it in strippers' underpants on Saturday nights. Like, I was like, I don't think this partnership's going to work. So I went and opened my own. So I opened a florist for 9 years.
Wow.
And it was great, but I had a bad business divorce in the early 2000s. And it just broke me. I really didn't know what I was going to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And I put all my effort into this one business. And I was a minority partner, but I was basically the blood, sweat, and tear partner.
Yeah.
And we divorced, and I sold him the business for $125, and it was doing 3 million a year because he's just brutal. And so I left. And
Wow.
then he sued me.
Oh my God.
And it was just, it was a really, I knew he would. It was an interesting, it didn't take very long, but it still was something to walk through.
Yeah.
Like Winston Churchill says, how do you get through hell? Walk faster. You just move, keep
Go.
moving, keep moving.
Run.
It'll be over eventually. So yeah, I started there, and then I opened Todd Events 23 years ago now.
Okay.
And we have 107 employees, and we do two different revenue streams. We manage about 20 million direct revenue, which is flowers and furniture and time sales, et cetera. And then we manage about 25 to 35 million of outside services that clients pay direct.
My gosh. Okay. So
So that was
multiple.
the, oh, and then along the way, by the way, I, got drunk and bought a fucking restaurant one night. And so like that happened. And then it was restaurant of the year. It was like the big restaurant. And then
Well, of
I did
course.
a party for the owner of the Jewel Hotel, and he hated the nightclub. So he goes, "Can you redo it?" So I redid it. And then he was like, "Can you operate it? Because the guys just got are getting investigated for tax fraud. It's Pure Management Group out of LA." And I was like, "Sure, I can run a nightclub." I never said no. Now, that's not the best way to run a business, but at the time, it was like, your money, my juice, let's go for it.
We'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out. And some of it was great. But at one point, honestly, I got to this place we were managing almost 65 million between all the different companies. And we had our staff meeting, which was every Tuesday, had 29 people in it. I'm just not that great of a leader, let's be honest. I mean, it was over my skis. I was not
Yeah.
that talented and it felt uncomfortable to me.
Yeah.
So I started spinning it out and getting rid of it.
Nice.
But at the
Wow.
time, everybody said if you wanted to be the next Martha Stewart, because I wanted to be the next Colin Cowie. When I
Mm,
was
I love it.
when I was 35, that's what I wanted.
Mhm.
And and that's funny because we're friends now, but I don't want to be him at all. But I that's what I wanted. And you had to have a brand, right? That you had to have different things and sell pots and pans on QVC and all kinds of crap back then.
Yep.
And that's not the way you do it now. So back then I would just experimented. And now I don't think I would experiment as much.
That is very interesting. Is there a business that you always had wanted to try, but you just never did?
Oh, I write business concept and ideas down all the
I
time.
love it.
Names, theories, thoughts.
I
Yeah. I mean, I've
okay.
wanted to open everything from a kids restaurant called Candy, and it's like parents get to sit around the outside and watch their kids through glass while they play in the huge playground. So, so I was like, why don't they do stuff for like these
Yeah,
families that want to have a glass of wine with dinner but not
right.
be boogers? So,
Yes.
and
No,
now
that is,
that I have a 5-year-old, I totally get it. Now it's definitely something to consider, but
I
that's,
agree.
yeah, I wouldn't say no. I mean, I try things. I will retire when I do retire, and I will own a beautiful store in San Miguel, day in day, where I have a home, and I will be the guy in the cafetan drinking tequila,
I
and
love
they'll be like,
that.
"Who owns that beautiful store?" And they're like, "See that fat guy in the cafetan? It's his."
Well, we're gonna have to chat offline. My brother is getting married there next year, so I'm so excited.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes, one of my
for
favorite
another
things.
day. Okay,
Yeah.
so you have multiple businesses, you have multiple partner relationships and clients and vendors, lots of moving pieces. So, what's kind of your secret for keeping it all together and making sure that everybody is doing their jobs? Like, do you have, you know, managers for each of the brands that kind of like report up to you? Are you actively involved in everyone? Give us a little insight.
Sure. So this all started. So I'd love to say I'd never started out with the plan. Let's be honest. My plan kind of presented itself. For example, Party Dallas strictly became a function of rentability because I had too much stuff for me.
Yeah.
80,000 square feet of stuff. And I wanted new toys on the constant. And my CFO was like, what are we going to do with all this crap? So we decided to create a rental business out of it. And then as I got smarter, I realized, when I'm ready to retire, and I've got about 7 more years, and after that, I want to be able to pluck them like petals, right? Like, here's the party rental business. I can sell this
Sell
business.
it.
It does $5 million. It does not have my name on the front door. It does
Yep.
great revenue, and I can make a nice little turn on EBITDA and put it in
Great.
my retirement plan. Same thing for Avant Garden.
Yeah.
The beautiful revenue, great, beautiful store. It can be sold because it's brand and customer base. They call the store, they don't call me.
Yep.
So those things can be sold. No one's going to buy Todd at 57
Yeah.
to 62 years of age. Nobody.
Mhm.
So I did that in a way to be strategic to at least sell off some of the independent arms that I thought had value.
Yeah.
Um, so I,
Smart.
I didn't want to end up in a giant garage sale, or people
Yeah.
walking in the building and picking out chairs for $20.
Yeah.
Just didn't want to end up having to end my
Yeah.
career in a garage sale.
So they all operate completely independent of each other.
Do.
Okay.
So they have their own, it's a little more expensive. So I like to say I lose a little by operating them independently, but I'm investing in my future by operating them independently.
And isn't
So
that a brilliant way to look at it?
yeah, because if I just kept it all in house and got real selfish and my toys get out of my fucking sandbox kind of vibe, I wouldn't really have a good retirement plan when I'm done.
Yeah.
The businesses in our industry typically are not sold, so they're hard to sell.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. Okay. So talk to me a little bit then about kind of the communication piece behind the scenes. Like, are you, more traditional? Do you pick up the phone and talk to your team members? Do people roll up? Is there, kind of different tiers of employees? Do you do like
Yep.
Slack or,
Yes, yes, and yes.
okay.
So you can never, I always, sadly, if you're the owner, entrepreneur, you're the smartest one in the room. And at some point, someone is being trained, which means there's a really not smart one in the room, right? Because we're a big firm, so we always have new people and they're green. So you're at the size of business we are now, I'm in some version of constant training,
Yeah.
which is why we started Pillars. I but I just kept seeing, from a staffing perspective, we run teams. So we have a lead planner, lead producer, and then then their whole team stacks underneath them. So there's a flower salesperson and she's in charge of $1 million worth of flower sales. Like, so they each have what we call books and they
Yeah.
have to manage a book.
Did
So
that
keep them cleaner.
did that happen organically as each of the companies were growing, or did you have a blueprint from Todd Events or, that you
No,
use?
kind of trial and error,
Yeah.
honestly. Um, Again, why we started Pillars. Like I used to not divide everybody up with tasks, and you can't really start dividing skill until you get a bigger business, right? Like at some point, I wore like 51 hats. I was the floral arranger, the processor, the tear down leader guy, the van driver. I was all of them. But as
Right.
you grow your business, you can start to limit your hats. And
Yeah.
so, my goal as I've gotten to this point is, I want to be the CD and I want to put out the creative vision and input in all the categories.
Mhm.
I want to be Miranda from Devil Wears Prada and throw my purse on a table and have you just do what I say. Doesn't really work like that, but it sure would be great. Um, but and then each team has kind of a leadership group
Okay.
from the top down and they're profit sharing partners.
Mm.
So the leadership people are
Yeah.
because they need to stay on top of not only the cost and the retail values and the everything, but they've also got to stay on top of people. And I definitely stay out of HR.
Yes. Yes.
I don't
Okay.
even hire, I haven't done an employee hire in years.
Yeah.
I
And
let
so,
our peer group hire them.
and I mean, that's a great way because they're more ingrained with like the day to day and the
Yeah.
needs. And so I think
Yeah.
that's wise. What about your day to day? Like, how do you split your time among all of it?
So I carve out 4 hours every 2 weeks for creative development, right? Like business growth strategies, revenue structures. How can I grow the business? Has it gotten too tired? Do I need to do a store redesign? You know, do we need to stop and do some training? Do I need to change the flower look? Have we gotten too passe?
Yeah.
And that happens. You have to modify constantly. And
Mm.
so I take 4 hours on my calendar every couple of weeks to go for a walk, think about it,
Yeah.
record some notes, but you got to stop to think about your business growth. You can't just wait until you're not busy
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're going to be always busy.
Right. Right. I think
So,
that is a very actionable thing that a lot of people could take away from this webinar too.
yeah.
I bet a lot of people don't think about and that they're just, stuck in the day-to-day tasks and
But yeah, if you get stuck being the flower processor and the flower arranger and the delivery guy, you're not going to have enough time to figure out how can you hire people so you can get rid of that goddamn job
yep.
because it's
Yep.
the worst job ever. You're tired of doing it.
Yes.
But you need that job if you're going to be a producer. So you need to understand it. They always say the best restaurant manager was the best dishwasher,
Yeah.
right? So
Because
all the departments
yeah,
and you
when
you
you
do
walk
them.
in those shoes, you know how to what
You got
it
to be able
takes.
to walk the walk. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so you've had great success with these companies and brands, and I am excited. I want to dive more into the pillars in a little bit, but I want to kind of take a look back and talk about some of the missteps that you really, when you look back, like they were, really formative in that you made a mistake or, you took that misstep, but it helped shape the next step, which led to success.
So that's fascinating. I've misstepped a lot. I mean, I've lost millions of dollars
Yeah.
by misstepping. But you know what? I'm not really motivated by money, so it doesn't really matter to me.
Hmm.
So if it was my big motivation, I probably would have, shot myself in the head a couple of times because you just learn as an entrepreneur to work through I've done 3 recessions. I survived 9/11, 2008.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
you learn to survive some really brutal, crushing business goals.
Yeah.
And and some ideas succeeded and some I lost $1 million on.
Yeah.
So I think that for me, you can't, I always knew day one I was going to have a multi-armed business. When I started my business in 1995, that was when I, like, my very first foray outside of the event business. Like, I was an entrepreneur. This is 2 or 3 years into my special event career. I wanted my vision was a Gerber daisy, and I was going to be the middle, and there were going to be all these petals that I could pluck and sell. That was,
Love it.
I was going to do, I've met with Uma about doing a tabletop line for the special event business, just tick, 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 things that you could do and then sell or move on from, mailbox money them, because I don't want to be the grubber every day. Like, I still am the only, I walk every party looking for our next 5 clients, yeah, I'm like an old fat spider, like, who's my next
There they
victim?
come, though.
That's how they come.
Right.
I always say I got plenty of people to do the daily load of a party. I'm there to find our next client.
So smart.
And so I always say, if you're the entrepreneur, find somebody my laughing joke is pull those little blinky things out of the flashy blinky shit. Find somebody else to do that. And you go out and work that room and find your next client.
It's great. And I mean, you have the personality, like,
Yeah.
you fill up a room. It's like so great in that way. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs underestimate themselves with their ability to do that. So they get stuck doing the tasks and
Yeah, but you also have to make that one of your it's
goals.
I said it's kind of like you can be very talented at creative work, but if you have zero salesmanship and you don't have a good sing-song bullshit story to kind of go along with it, you're, you want to be Jennifer Lopez. You want to be a triple threat. You got to have talent, consistency, and and salesmanship. If you can't sell and you're super talented, then I hate to tell you, your business is probably going to be a little meh,
I
right?
think so.
We call it, you got to get out there and, like, scarecrow dance, like, get out there and entertain the kids,
Yeah.
but
Good
that's
pay
part of
attention.
it to me. Our
That's
industry is emotionally based. They buy things, people will buy us
yeah.
and our services if they're, endeared to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've got to have some version of that.
So talk me through a little bit of that, just to pull on that thread a tiny bit. Really, really interesting. And I completely agree. When you are handling so many events and people want to hire Todd, how does the handoff to team members work? Or do they always communicate with you? Or do you only take certain
And never
clients?
communicate with me.
Okay.
So here's how we tell. So when we meet with somebody, um, we cannot do the volume we do if I was the imagine a funnel being the other way around, right? So the tiny part of the funnel is facing up, the big funnel's at the bottom. I can't be the tiny part of the funnel.
Right.
One, that's really not my skill. That's not really where my skills are. I mean, I have the memory skills of an elephant, but getting it perfectly communicated and then delegating it and coming back around and doing the follow through is not really my
Yeah.
bliss.
Hmm.
I'm a great creative. I can move. I am definitely not the Titanic. I can move on a pin. Um, but what I'm not great is the other part. So we flip the funnel in our business. So we tell all of our clients we're a wide mouth at the top. This is the best part about us. How you have to sell against somebody else who's probably less than you, who has no employees. So
Yes.
we're like, if I got hit by a bus, this entire team is here to support you.
Exactly.
You
Yes.
know, so we have to sell in a different way than somebody who's an entrepreneur, single
Yeah.
proprietor, sole proprietor. So, so we have to sell differently. So we sell it like, I'm creative director. Here's your logistics manager. Here's your project manager who's handling all the third party vendors and design and flowers and all the stuff. So we kind of divide them.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. So a lot of the people that registered for this call are newer, let's call it, within their first like 5 or 6 years of being in
Mhm.
business.
Under 3 million in revenue,
Under
probably.
3 million, exactly. So when you think back to those earlier days and you are where you are today, what is something that you wish you would have known in those like first, formative years where maybe you're still working a part-time job, maybe you're not 100% on your own yet, or maybe you just got on your own?
I would say so. I had a much more understanding of self when I started my business. I was embrazened in a sense. I had a very like F you attitude towards everyone. I thought everyone else's work was mediocre. And I said it out loud to lots of people. I mean, I was so bitchy and awful as a 26-year-old. And I was kind of self-absorbed with quality. Like I wanted to be uber luxury when I barely had a pot of bean soup to eat, but I wanted I wanted champagne with it, good champagne, but I would eat soup,
Yes.
right? I was kind of a weird, snotty 26-year-old. I think what I've learned is believe that number one, show only what you want to sell. So if you do a piece of business for money, do it for money, but you better make sure it doesn't show up anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. So I try not to, even back then, I could be poor as a church mouse and I would turn down work if the budget was bad or the design was meh or their wishes were ugly.
Mhm.
I would just say no, which
Mhm.
gave me this kind of exclusive, like, they're like, y'all, we sent him inquiries and he turned two of them down. They must be packed. And I'm like, actually, no, I'm cleaning out the paint cabinet and re-rolling the ribbon, but we're not busy, but I'm not doing that because that's ugly work and that's somebody
Yeah.
else's book.
Yeah.
So, I said, Put out what you want, so I had to do a photo shoot to open because my clients, I didn't
Right.
have a portfolio, right? I took a loan out against my house, spent $10,000 on a photo shoot, and shot lots of dining tables and concept stories and hired a model and put her in a beautiful dress and I spent money.
Yeah.
Uh, and that was scary because I had zero money.
Yeah.
Um, but I needed to do it. And so I only showed things I wanted.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I didn't, even back then, I found an old sketchbook actually. Um, from 2000 because I found the Veranda magazine we did the cover for and the
Yeah.
sketchbook of the designs for the Veranda.
I love
And
it.
that was 23 years ago. And they were still $1,500 centerpieces. I was a pig on flowers even back then. So, but it's funny to see like that somewhat of that tenacity of my work has never really changed.
Changed. Yeah.
Yeah. Put out the work that you're proud of and
Mhm.
don't take it even if you're starving. If it's garbage work, don't take it
Yeah.
because garbage work typically has garbage friends. Then those people in the room spread your name around that the wedding was. I just say don't
Hmm.
do it.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Number
really
two is mine your own data and figure out what your best customer is. So, for example, if you had done 6 weddings in the last 2 years and their average budget was 200 people and they spent $200,000, then you now like weddings with $1,000 guest average.
yeah.
So now when somebody inquires, it says they have 50 people, you could say, I'd love to work on it. My fee's X, but I have a production minimum of $50,000. It
Yeah.
helps you establish work that you're great at instead of you constantly shuffling your cards, trying to be everything to everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, I only like people who spend $3,500 a party per guest average.
You get to do that now.
Yes, because I'd get to do that now, but I never did that.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's good. And looking at the data that you have available to you is
yeah,
really valuable advice as well.
yeah, and don't try to be someone else. I mean, you can't look at I can't look at Mindy Weiss's book and be jealous of Mindy Weiss's book,
Right.
right? She's been doing this for 40 years. She's in
Yeah.
California,
Yeah.
right? She's done lots of movie stars. Yeah, and you can't have the same book. So don't compare.
Yeah.
That's not an option for me in Dallas. And I can't have one look. I have to be good at traditional and modern and uh, farmhouse. So I can't actually have a singular design look like Jeff Latham or
Yeah.
more specific florist. It's too limiting for our revenue.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have to be a little bit more jack of all trade.
Yeah. I think that's important too, is about where
Yeah.
you're located, where your business is located. And I think a lot of, people, I'd be curious your thoughts about the destination piece. A lot of people love working on destination weddings, but you also have to remember where you're based out of. And if your bread and butter is coming from that base or
Yeah.
not, what that shows in your
100%.
portfolio.
I always say you have, for one, you have to define and write down on a piece of paper your company's golden egg. Okay, that's what I call it. Your
Mhm.
company's golden egg. Where do you earn the most revenue and the most profit? Center. What are those centers? If those are your locally based business, let's say I'm in Dallas and mine would be my Dallas based business, then I need to stay very focused on the golden egg and I can do some other, play with some other things.
Yeah. Yeah.
But sometimes your golden egg gets thrown to the ground and crashed into a million pieces. And then no one calls you for local tiny business. And you only get phone calls for like $4 million parties on a boat in the middle of nowhere, which are starting to wear on my nerves. They're so stressful and scary.
Oh my gosh.
You know, they're so scary. They are so scary.
I can't even imagine.
So scary. You just know you're going to screw it up. And if you screw it up, it's going to be big.
Yeah.
They make me, I'm more nervous now about work than I used to be, for sure.
Because you have this brand and this level of
Scalability.
expectation. Yep. Mhm.
Well, and it didn't start out that way. I mean, we'd get one client, you know, and then I'd do something over the top, and then it got more, and then it got more. And then I'm a creative pusher. I like to try new things.
Mhm.
And so I'd push and push, and then pretty soon I got really confident saying, yes, we're doing $200,000 worth of flowers for the ceremony. Don't be ridiculous. You know? And then I was like, and then I go home and I'm like, I'm from Wichita Falls, Texas. Never and ever did I ever think I'd say $200,000 worth of
That's
flowers.
good.
Don't be ridiculous, you know.
What has been one of your proudest moments to date?
Oh gosh, there's so many. There's too many. I get it doing really hard projects.
Mhm.
I think standing in King Fahd's palace in Saudi Arabia was
Oh,
a
yeah.
moment for me because
Mhm.
I was a dumb kid from Wichita Falls that felt
Yeah.
kind of like a loser that wasn't very talented. And I'm standing in King Fahd's palace
Yeah.
about to do a princess's wedding. Although they didn't tell me what part I was doing, and I only ended up doing the bathroom, but it was still an amazing bathroom.
Wow. Yeah.
But
Abs-
everything leads you into wild places, and I just like to go. I'm proud of
Yeah.
that. I'm proud that I've been on lots of lists. I'm proud I'm from a small town,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I may not have my rock didn't fall very far. It's only 2.5 hours away, but
Mm. Oh, interesting.
I made a big business for myself.
Yeah, you
I'm
did.
going to do $500 million next year.
Oh my God.
Surpassed cumulative. We did our tax returns because we're like looking
Yeah.
at our 30 years.
Yeah.
And I'm going to break $500 million
That
in
is
revenue
insane.
in
That's
my
amazing.
career. Yeah. So I was kind of proud of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those big milestones,
Big milestone stuff.
yeah, those are good ones. So obviously we've been peppering you with questions. We have a lot to learn from you. I think in this industry, you're just so charismatic and you have years and years of experience and education behind you. I want to talk about pillars of production.
Sure.
So talk to me about how this came to be, first of all, is like, how did you dream this up and what did you see as kind of like missing in the market?
So way back when, y'all are pretty young, there was a guy and his name was Robert Isabel. And he was a really incredible designer in New York. This was probably in the late 90s, early twos, right? He had the icon business. He was beautiful. He looked like Tom Ford. He he did the Met Gala. He did all the parties for Vogue. He did all the superstar weddings in New York. And he was just everything he did was massive and beautifully scaled. He was kind of the big guy before Preston Bailey, and
Yeah.
he was big before that. Well, Robert was doing a huge project in India and died of a heart attack in his hotel room. And everything his business closed almost immediately,
Yeah.
and it just got dissipated. And a year later, everybody's like, Robert, who? Right?
Wow.
Like it was over.
Yeah.
Now, Avilia is the big designer in New York, and Preston then
Mhm.
floated to the top, and then Jeff Latham from Four Seasons, California. Like so it happened, and I thought there is so much of that brilliant man that just went away that other creative businesses, especially in special event, because
Yeah.
we have no barrier of entry.
No.
No, you can get your sales tax license and hang a shingle and
Hmm.
call yourself a party planner. It's
Yeah.
not, there's no barrier. So
Yeah.
I learned a lot of lessons and I failed a lot. And then I found a lot of standard operating procedures
Yeah.
that our business does not have, industry doesn't have.
Hmm.
And we don't all follow the law because we don't know what we don't know.
Yep.
And I'll see people on Instagram that almost kill people and it scares me to death. Like flower arches on pipe and drape frame. I'm like,
Yes.
oh my God, you're going to
Yeah.
kill someone.
There's
Someone
there's
pointed that
no
out.
like regulating
There's
body that comes and
regulations.
says that installation's gonna fall.
Yep. And I see hotel partners that I adore hate other vendors because they don't know how to work in a hotel because they're new. So they
Yeah.
come in, they bring all their flowers, they make them all on the floor, get the carpet wet, and leave. And then they don't ever refer them again because they're not a great vendor. So
Yeah.
the Pillars is to me is Rishi. So a big group of us, Rishi Patel, David Beam, Ed Libby, we were all at this conference in Utah. And I that's where I brought this up. And I said, I want to start this. And I want us all eventually to have a web platform called Party Pro that sells the old SketchUps and the design books and the tech drawings and the because when you're a small business, you don't have those
Have it.
skills.
Yeah.
You can't find the people and you can't hire them,
Yeah.
but it teaches like so to me it's all on tech and toolbox,
Mhm.
learning to speak languages. Our industry is very language specific.
Yes.
I've met with some great wedding planners that do not know how to talk power. They literally are like, can I get one of those big plugs, with the three things sticking out of it instead of the two? You're like,
Yeah.
you're famous. You should know better. You know, so it's learning the languages. So we've divided the pillars down so that we can teach language, standard operating procedure, safety, duty of care law, international fire law,
Mm.
diagram safety for hotels over 10 stories are wildly different than other locations. What tent regulations, all
Yeah.
the stuff that you should, and you don't have to know enough to be I'm not trying to give you a doctorate in it, but I want you to know enough to speak
Yeah.
with some sense of control.
Yeah. And have more
And
confidence.
yeah, I
You
mean, if
will.
and if you can go on a tent site and go, no, we need a 200 people. Nope, I need 4,000 minimum square feet. 10 square, 10% of that goes to a kitchen. Because we formulated after so many
Yeah.
jobs that there are formulas. And
Yeah.
so sharing those so that you can walk on and be more knowledgeable from day one
Yeah.
is more important.
Interesting. So
And
it's
to make you a great vendor.
yeah. And then you get referred more. Like, I mean, truly, it's such a heavy referral business.
And if you think about, Ritz-Carlton and JW Marriott will own 51% of all the hotel rooms in the US market within the next 10 years.
Yeah.
That means they're going to lock up
Yeah.
somehow their program. They all do.
Yeah.
And they're going to, and I want them to make you have to be pillar certified to work in their hotels because then you'll know the rules.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and you're a great vendor, you know how to load in at a dock and your team
Yeah.
has to be lanyarded and everyone follows OSHA requirements on site because that's a big deal.
It's a big deal. Yeah.
So that's what it's about.
So would you say that it's primarily for people in the industry like under 10 years? Like, do you have kind of like guidelines or is it open to
No,
anyone?
what's open to all planners and producers.
Yeah.
And everybody goes, it's not for planners. I'm like, oh, it is absolutely for planners. If
Yeah.
you know, I think the best restaurant owner is a great dishwasher. And if you want to be a planner producer, then you should know the guidelines. You shouldn't leave it up to the tent vendor. What if the tent fell down? You're still liable under duty of care law.
Yeah. True.
If that tent fell, even if you didn't sell it to them, you have a contract to manage. So you're responsible. So you need to understand how things work.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's so true.
So,
We linked Pillars of Production, but we'll also make sure to include the registration link so people can get all of that information. We are having more questions come in. I'm watching them kind of come in. So we did get some of the pre-questions sent with the registration. So I want to kind of go through some of these.
Sure.
And the first one is, how did you get back in the game and go after clients after COVID, like getting back on track?
Well, after I drank 72 bottles of rosé
Who
and
didn't?
lovingly had a 6-month-old, so I got to stay at home and watch her walk and blah, blah, blah. So I actually called COVID God's speed bump for me
Yeah.
because before COVID, work was so hectic. We were doing 400 events a year. I was taking everything of every size, shape, and form. And I was running stupid and really not maximizing my profitability at all.
Yeah.
I just
So,
kept seeing the big number at the top thinking, woo, I'm doing great. But my bottom number was terrible. And
yeah.
so it allowed me to stop. And I realized I had been trying to be too much. Like I had an entire set design division. We had an entire lighting company. Because I
Mm,
had gotten my head space that if I'm selling 500 grand a year worth of lighting, I should own a lighting company.
yeah.
It's not necessarily the best decision. So so I kind of COVID allowed me to stop and go, okay, Todd, you're 52. What do you want 62 to look like?
Yeah.
And I actually had 10 weeks off where I didn't have to micromanage.
Mhm.
So it actually worked out great for me.
Mm,
And I stopped and analyzed my business and thought what I could be good at and moved on from there.
yeah. And did you have
Narrowed the focus.
did you have clients that you went back to, like when things, picked back up that had moved dates, or did the business
Well,
kind of
yeah,
move?
we didn't, we allowed everybody to move with 100% flexibility and no penalties if they moved the date. If they canceled, we kept their money.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I played real hard to that rule. And I kept some really mean people's money.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry for my stupid dog, everybody. The 14-year-old dog that normally lays down and sleeps the whole time today is acting like a 4-year-old. I'm like, go back to being comatose. Move on. Um, they but so I would say we had some legacy clients that supported us. During COVID, I had 5 clients that sent me a deposit check for 10 or $20,000, but had no party,
wow. Yeah.
which is
That's
pretty
pretty amazing.
kind.
Yeah.
So, they were like, we know you're going to need it to stay alive. So here's a deposit for a future party.
Yeah.
Was very nice of certain people.
Yep.
Um,
That's
they came back, but I will say Texas came back. We were back online by June,
mhm.
not full, but back somewhat online. Outdoor
Yeah.
events were finally allowed, and that kind of struck off. But honestly, by the following season, we were so busy and
Yeah.
people just went. It was like holding a spring too long. It was like
I know.
boing,
Such a
and
great analogy.
they didn't care. That money was. They were just like, yes, let's go. And
Big party.
I took it.
Okay. This question says, I'm graduating from Old Miss in the spring and I want to work in Dallas in the event industry. What do you think my first step should be?
So a graduate, if you have an arts-based program, right? Public relations, arts, degree side, um, get into something that might you need to get your feet wet in either corporate. I always say try to work in corporate or
Mhm.
work in the hospitality business first.
Yeah.
If you can get a job, it may not be your dream job, but you can work as a venue representative selling square footage and food and beverage for a site and, an individual freestanding venue.
Yes.
Try it,
Yep.
right? Use your cute and darlingness self and learn the ropes
Yeah.
of space planning. Go work for people like me or go work for another company.
Mhm.
I don't think anybody graduating should ever try to all of a sudden just open their own business. There's just not enough skin. And I'll tell you, this is a 2-year training industry. It takes you 2 years to get through at least some cycles of repetition.
Mhm.
Otherwise, everything you're doing is a first timer. It's
Yeah.
just constantly first time learning.
Right. Right.
It takes
I
2 years.
I always like to use the Nordstrom analogy where it's like Nordstrom is so good at training on customer service. You don't necessarily want to go work retail, but go learn customer service. It's
Yes.
like the same thing. You can go and work at a hotel. You can go work for catering. Like just learning the ropes is such a
Yeah.
great like first
Well,
step.
understand, my thing is the language. Learn some of the languages of special event,
Yeah,
because you hate to walk in and have the first job and go, how big is that table? How many people does it seat? You don't want to feel so naive to the basics.
I know.
Got to get the basic language down.
Okay, next question. Can Todd share some of his systems or tools that he uses to power each of his businesses?
Sure. Hmm. Tools. Let's see. Um, at Todd Events, we use our own internal tracking system for costs and management. Um, we call it APOX is the name of the system. It's basically a glorified capture category Excel version document, but it allows us to track flowers, production, outside services, time sales, customs and considerations,
Hmm.
and retail sales all separately because
Wow.
we don't make the same margin on every product,
Yeah.
right? So we only make 5% on this, and we make 10% on that, or 18 on that, or
Mhm.
full retail if I buy something at market and retail it. Like, so our margins are categorically not even.
Yeah.
And it also depends on if your business is the cash flow model. Is all the revenue coming into your business and all the revenue going out? Then you have to revenue your business differently. If
Mhm.
you're only fee based and then the vendor or client is paying all the vendors, that's
Yeah.
a different
Different.
system,
Yeah.
way
Yes.
different system. So if you want to be the bank, you have to develop some margin management controls pretty quickly. If you don't want to be the bank and you want to be the third party orchestra leader, that's safer at the beginning. I had a lot of, you made a lot of cash flow mistakes, especially in flowers.
Yeah.
So, but yes, I would say so APOC system, we use a system called Trello.
Oh, yeah.
Um, Trello is a building like tracking communication
Great.
platform. So we use Trello. We use CAD, of course.
Mhm.
It's $2,000 an operator now, which I don't really like, but
Yeah.
it's better. And then we use Visio for our little stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not a social tables fan. I actually find it
Yeah.
not to work really that well, but
Yeah.
um, and then the flower side, we use much more we save all of our old recipes. So we
Oh,
data mine our old recipes and then we keep them in a recipe book.
oh,
And then you can pull recipes, which speeds up the process of re-recipeing later.
right. Oh,
So
that's great.
data mine it. If you're in the flower business, you data mine it.
Yeah.
And then on party side, every item is garaged.
Mm,
That's what we call it, i.e., its shelf that it sits on is its garage. And we analyze what we spend on cubic square feet. So
mm,
my electric bill, my lease payments, my mortgages, my, general G&A expenses. Then we divide the building by cubic usage square feet. So I know it cost me $47 a square foot to run. And if that damn sofa, she ain't paying her bills, out she
Ouch.
goes. So I'm
I
like,
think
you're fat and lazy. You're taking up space. Get out.
gotta go.
And I buy something else.
So, Todd, I think it's really interesting just throughout this conversation. Everything is so like mathematical and like, financial based decision making. And I think it's really easy for people getting started in this industry to get caught up that I'm going to just be planning weddings, or I'm just going to be putting flowers together. But really, it feels like so much of your decision making and success really comes from knowing where to make the right decision, which comes from data.
You have to make money.
Yeah.
You don't have to create, and the making money and generating cash flow are two different things.
Yeah.
Okay. And a lot of people in our business are like, no, it's good. It's good. I got another $10,000 deposit. It's called kiting your business, like flying a kite in the air. You're just waiting for the next big, push air to take you back up again.
Yeah.
Kiting a business is very stressful.
Yeah.
And, you can overpay yourself sometimes. Like I said, I made 18,000 a year when I started, not great income.
Yeah.
So, you know, you I think you have to understand that every decision you make is financial and Another thing I don't do is if I want to gift or go over the line for a client, let's say I want to spend more on flowers
Yeah.
than their budget. I show them in their forecast or in their invoice the real price, and then I show them a discount
Yeah.
or a gift or however I show it as I list it. Because if I just buried it because I want it to be pretty, they don't even notice.
Yeah. Or
They
care,
don't
like, yeah.
notice or care. They're like, oh, well, that's what you delivered me. So that must be $500 worth. I'm like, well, actually,
Right.
that's $1,500 worth.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Yep.
And so if you want to gift or discount your fee or lower your percentage from 18 to 15 or whatever, say my contract will be for 18, but I'm going to show you a negotiated addendum that I'll give you 3% off the invoice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That way they know the value of what you're offering.
Yeah. Wow. I love it.
So
Okay. So we are coming up on time, and we always like to just ask, what is your one piece of advice that you would like to leave people with today?
um define and design what kind of service you are, and then escalate that 30 or 40%. So that you've got a little bit of a shoot for the stars vibe, but don't go so far that you're like me at 26. I'm gonna be the next Colin Cowie, and I'm gonna have a TV show, and I have a book line, and I'm gonna sell dishes on QVC. Like that was a little aggressive for me at 26, right?
Yeah.
And a little too blue sky, like
Yep.
wasn't really reachable or definable
Yeah.
goals.
Yeah.
So I would say be a little bit more realistic in your goal setting,
Yeah.
and then add a financial goal to your goal setting as well. It can be to do pretty
Yeah.
work or your first 300-person wedding or your first $50,000 flower bill, whatever that it is. It can be but put some numbers,
Okay.
put a financial goal in there as well.
I like that part. It's awesome.
Increase your gross by 20 and your personal by 10. You know, go
Yeah.
up 20% in your gross sales, 10% in your net sales for yourself. Like I put them into play for
Yeah.
sure.
Very cool. So I know we didn't get to everybody's questions, and I'm so sorry. But we want to thank you all for joining today. And Todd, thank you so much for sitting down with us and chatting.
Sure.
It's just been wonderful to get to know you. Little plug. So as a reminder, we are hosting these monthly webinars, and we have another one that's coming up. It is all around, just being authentic, unfiltered conversations, learning about the good, the bad, the ugly. Our next one, be on the lookout for it. It is going to be Josh of Birch Events Design, and we'll be excited
Oh
to chat.
gosh.
I know. So, thank
Radical creativity. That's his program this year. Radical creativity.
I love
I love
it.
that.
Everybody, please check out Pillars of Productions. Obviously, if anything has been proven here today, it's that Todd is just a wealth of knowledge, and he is so generous to share it with us and at Pillars of Production. So thank you again, Todd.
Okay,
You are,
guys, come see us. It'll be great, great, great learning fun.
yes. All right.
Not from just me, from a lot of people.
Yes. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Everybody. Bye-bye.